Welcome to the Tuesday night principal broadcast, sponsored by DE and brought to you by Band of Brothers around the world. Hey, we got a special guest tonight. Beth Zogg has been in practice for 30 years. She graduated from Life College in 1996. Beth has a lineage in chiropractic beyond amazement. She is the granddaughter of Dr. J. Clay Thompson, and she is the president of the Thompson Technique Foundation. I think that's it. But more importantly, she's just a great woman, and she stands for the principle. I've worked with her with the ICA for years, and she held people accountable, holds people accountable, and still teaches the technique and travels teaching. Just a constant giver and lover and server. She is what DE is all about. But before we go into have Dr. Beth's presentation, just remember July 16th to the 19th is the next DE. It's coming up fast, about 5 weeks out. The room block ends July 1st. So we're going to be at the Perimeter there in Atlanta. So make sure you get your rooms booked so you can stay right there in the room and just marinate with the love and everything that everybody's about at DE. You know what? Also, before you book, might as well just become a member, because if you're a member of the DE program, it's just a monthly fee. You get all the DEs. You get to have all the DEs from the past, I think back to 2015 or 2016. You constantly go back and re-listen to things that maybe you missed or you can't remember what they said. Go listen to it again and again. I do that all the time. I think the membership is the best way to do DE. And if you can't make it live, it's not the same, but you can do the live stream. So it's worth it, and it's something that you can share. And I think you just join. If you're not a member, join. And with no further ado, let's hear from Dr. Beth Zogg. Take it, girl.
Hi, everybody. This past weekend, I had the opportunity to go stay with some friends of mine from chiropractic school. And some of you probably remember Dr. Greg Demetrius and his wife, Carol. And so while I was at their house, they got out all these photo albums of when we were in school from Life, pictures from DE. And so it was kind of perfect timing because of having this talk coming up tonight. I was thinking about people that I hadn't thought about in years and just kind of like reliving all those special memories from DE as a chiropractic student in the early 90s. And when I think about DE and what DE has done for me personally and what DE has done for chiropractic since the 1960s, three things kind of stand out the most to me. And so I thought I would just share those tonight. So the first thing that really came to mind when I was thinking about DE's impact on chiropractic is that DE has always provided like a safe place or a safe haven for all of us in chiropractic. And, I kind of compare it to like a church because, church is a building, but church is also the people that make up the church. And that's what DE is. It's not just like 4 meetings a year. It's the community that is created that is there for you 24/7 all year round. And so you really can't separate the idea of DE from the people involved in DE. And for me, my experience with DE is kind of unusual because to me, DE was really represented by my grandparents' friends, the household names of Sid and Nell and Dee Dee and Beth. And so I kind of, grew up knowing who these people were, but never thinking about becoming a chiropractor or anything like that. But one year, my grandpa was having a birthday party at DE. Sid was throwing a party for him. And so my mom and I went. And I remember when I walked into the big banquet room, I was just kind of floored by all of the love and the enthusiasm and passion that everyone in that room had for chiropractic. And it was really attractive to me at that point. And it was kind of at that time I was like, gosh, maybe I should become a chiropractor. And so I just made a complete change in the direction of my life. Up to that point, I was 100% all in on pursuing a career in dance, studying ballet and modern dance, and had plans to move to New York and audition for companies there. And instead, I went to chiropractic college, and my family said, you can either go to Davenport or Palmer Davenport, or you can go to Life. And so I chose Life, and the only people that I really knew there in Georgia were Sid and Nell and Dee Dee and Beth, and then many of you would remember Russ Earhart and his wife Ruthie. And so once I made that decision, to go to Life, Sid got in touch with my dad and said, listen, Beth is going to live in Ashboro Village. Here's the name of the handyman Uno, such and such and such and such and such and such all live there. We're going to make sure that she's safe and taken care of. And so, like DE, like Sid and Nell and everyone in DE, just like they're protectors. Like they're not just protectors of chiropractic, but they're protectors of each other. And so once I got to Georgia, Nell took me in her car and she drove me to meet one of her friends in Marietta, whose name was Iris Hensley. And Iris owned this little ballet company in Marietta called the Georgia Ballet, and not to be confused with the Atlanta Ballet. This was just a little tiny dance company. And so I was able to dance there and perform in a Nutcracker my first winter that I was at Life. And Nell introduced me to the DC dancers, where I was able to make friends in chiropractic. And, it was funny looking back on it, how Sid and Nell knew what I needed more than I knew what I needed. Like they had set everything up for me to be successful and to make that transition of like changing my identity from dancer to chiropractor. And I just think of the sensitivity in that. And, that is what DE is still. I mean, if you have any kind of issues going on in your practice or your life, you can go to DE, and there's so much wisdom in that room. The people there can, look at your situation and give you the best advice that you could get and how to turn things around. I think about DE, since I've been coming back in recent years, and the last DE I sat with Lizzie and Anna, and I was just hanging on their words and asking them questions about their practice, because I had closed my practice, and now I'm living in a different town, and I just opened a new practice, and I want to know how to do things better, And so I loved when Liz played that video of how she talks to patients. And as I was listening to that, I was like, oh my gosh, that is so good. Like I never thought about wording something that way. And then, listening to Tony Ann, and she's so powerful and so brave. And I feel myself over the time period that I've been coming back to DE, like I feel more brave. I feel more bold and, more proud of like spreading the word of chiropractic than ever before. And so I feel like, DE is a place where you can go, you can be safe, you'll be accepted, you'll be loved, you'll be empowered, and you'll be inspired. And so that's the first thing I think about with DE. It's just like a safe place, a safe haven to just be your true authentic self and, be loved up on by everybody that's there. The second thing I think about when I think about DE over the years is the leadership. And I mean, honestly, I believe that most of the great chiropractic teachers and leaders that were still alive when DE began in the 60s have all come through and maybe spoke at or attended DE over all these years. And I think back in the 1990s when we were students, and, it was nothing to like see at DE, Fred Barge, Russ Earhart, Glenn Stillwagon, Joe Stuckey, Kale, Webster, Sigafus, and so many more. I mean, what an amazing opportunity to learn from all of these leaders in the profession that were the experts in their particular area. And then not to mention all of the high volume practitioners that were there to say, listen, I'm seeing X number of patients and I'm doing it with love and I'm doing it with integrity, because when you go to DE and you see people doing it, you see people, taking care of a lot of patients, but not compromising and staying focused solely on, locating and adjusting the subluxation, it makes you feel like, you know what, I can do that too. And these are the people that are doing it, and they're going to tell me and teach me how to do it too. And so, I can't even imagine all the greatness that has been on the stage at DE. And when you look at DE today, it's still the leaders in the profession. I mean, we see people that serve on their, state organization boards. We see people serving in national organizations. We have people at DE that are teaching at chiropractic colleges. We have presidents of chiropractic colleges. I mean, I don't know what more you could ask for in terms of leadership. What group of people provides more leadership than DE? And the thing I love about DE is that it's not a competition. There's not, fighting about which technique is better and all that nonsense. It's just people bound together for their love of our chiropractic principle. And that is what makes DE so special. And, the leaders that we have in DE, they want the people coming up behind them, that the people that they're leading, they want them to be the next leaders. And, a great leader wants the people that come up behind them to surpass them, to be even better leaders than them. And so I love the entire vibe of DE, where it's so supportive and so uplifting. And it's really developing every single person in the room into a great leader. And, DE offers so much content. You can access it every single day if you want to, through the DE radio, becoming a member. You can watch previous DEs in their entirety. You can get on the 48 breaths call. I mean, there's just so much that it offers to us on a daily basis to help us to continue to grow. Everybody in life has ups and downs, and maybe, you haven't had a lot of hard times in your life, but eventually it catches up with all of us. And there's going to be times in your life when you're disheartened or you're heartbroken even. And, for my grandpa, when BJ Palmer died, he was super depressed because his mentor had passed and then he got let go from the college. And if it hadn't been for DE, he would have never snapped out of it, because when he came to his first DE, he said that when he listened to Dr. Sid speak, that he got his spiz back, he got his fire back for chiropractic. And then he went on to continue to develop the Thompson technique. And, there were many people that benefited from DE during that time period, which was just such dark, sad days in the profession. And, not everybody went to DE and not everybody pulled out of it. My grandpa, one of his closest friends was Herb Hender, who was the dean of the college at that time. And he was really probably the person very closest to BJ Palmer when BJ died. And, he also got let go from the college, ended up in Florida. My grandparents went to visit him and his wife, and my grandparents said it was the most heartbreaking thing you'd ever seen because Herb didn't want to go anywhere. He didn't want to do anything. He just wanted to go in the backyard of his home and just, work in his rose garden. And, thank goodness that my grandpa came to DE. And so some people will say, well, DE is just rah-rah, and I think they mean that in a little bit of a derogatory way. And, when I first heard that, I was a little defensive about it. But then when I think about it, I'm like, yeah, DE is rah-rah. And that's good, because how awesome is it that we love something so much that we will take time off of work, we'll spend the money to travel, so that we can gather together and celebrate chiropractic. I mean, you're darn right, DE is rah-rah, and that is a beautiful thing. You know, it's good to have fun. And sometimes I think we get so bogged down in practice. We get so serious, we get so serious about life that we forget how to have fun. And, when you come to DE, you are going to jump around, you're going to dance, you're going to laugh, you're going to cry, you're going to yell, you're going to scream, and you're going to get loved on. And what could be better than that? Everybody needs that in their life. I think that when my grandpa went to his first DE meeting, in interviews, I've seen him say that every single thing in my life got better after I went to DE. So, maybe you are someone who is struggling in practice. Maybe you're someone that's struggling in your family life. Maybe your practice is going pretty good and your family is pretty good, but there's just things you feel like you could improve upon in terms of systems or technique or something like that. Or maybe you are like my grandpa, who lost your enthusiasm for chiropractic over time. So my best advice to you is, come to DE, because when you do, everything in your life will get better too. So thanks so much for letting me talk to you guys tonight.
Awesome job, girl. Thank you.
Thank you.
You said several things. One, what like BJ said, you never know how far reaching what you think, say, do today can affect millions later. What if your grandpa didn't go? What if he never would have gone, never got out of his funk, and maybe the Thompson technique really never would have matured and became what it is? And how many millions of lives have been affected by that and that alone, right?
Right. That's
and
right.
You also said that his life was better after DE. And I can tell you, I can rattle off 50 names of people that I brought to DE. And like you said, yeah, it's rah-rah. But you have to put the meat on the rah-rah, and then when you go home, use the 49 breaths, use the Tuesday night call, use the DE radio, use all the stuff that's there for you to keep the meat on the bone between the rah-rah, because we need rah-rah. I agree with you 100%. And you also said it, man, you're going to cry, you're going to laugh, you're going to dance, but there's always going to be somebody to love you. And that was powerful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, I love and appreciate you. And everybody out there, if you're not a member, become a member. Sign up for the July 16th and get your room booked before 4th of July. Love you, girl, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.